This is the case of DEORR Kunz Jr. He would be 9 today. He was only 2 years old at the time of his disappearance. He had on a camo print jacket, blue pajama pants, green and black checkered socks, a brown cowboy boot with a lighter brown camo on it, and he has a birthmark on the back of his neck. DEORR Kunz Jr. was born on December 30th to Jessica Mitchell and her fiancé at the time, Vernal DEORR Kunz Sr., in Idaho Falls. He is their only child. To his family, he was known as Little Man. He was described as a vivacious, fun-loving, and curious child, an average child with an above-average love for life. He loved wearing oversized cowboy boots that were much too big for him, but enjoyed walking in them anyway. At the time of his disappearance, they lived in a small apartment. On the day of July 10th, 2015, Jessica and Vernal decided to take a camping trip that was a spontaneous decision. Jessica decided to invite her grandfather, Robert Walton, who also lived with them. Robert also decided to ask his friend Isaac Reinwatt if he would like to join them for the trip. Isaac had never met Jessica, Vernal, or DEORR prior to this. In a truck pulling the camping trailer, all 5 of them loaded up and drove 2 hours to Leodore. Rather than stopping at the campground, they continued another 40 minutes down the highway to arrive at the Stage Shop, a convenience store in Leodore where they claimed the store clerk witnessed DEORR and both of his parents. However, when questioned later, the clerk stated they saw a little blonde boy at 6 p.m. that evening, not the 1 p.m. time frame the parents would later give to police in their reports. Vernal later stated that the clerk was mistaken, a claim that is scrutinized to this day. When they all finally pull up to the campground, Jessica, Vernal, and DEORR put up chairs and lit a fire in the fire pit, despite the temperature reaching over 80 degrees. The grandpa decided to leave the door open and lay back and relax. He had a hearing aid and an oxygen tank. Isaac states that he left shortly after arriving to go fishing nearby. When Jessica and Vernal finished setting up camp, Jessica says she shouted to her grandpa that they were leaving DEORR. They wanted to explore the campgrounds nearby. However, the grandpa did not hear, and he did not know he was responsible for DEORR. Over the next course of the half hour, he was nowhere to be found. At 2:28 p.m., Jessica calls 911 and reports her son missing.
14:28 4 seconds, July 10, 2015.
What's the address of your emergency?
I'm actually camping in Leadore, just outside of Leadore.
Uh-huh.
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him.
What's your name?
Jessica
Jessica who?
Mitchell.
How long has he been missing?
About an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Are you by water?
Yes.
Okay, stay on the phone with me, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to put you on hold. John? Huh? I need... Do you know which campground you're in? What?
Timber Creek.
Pardon me?
It's Stone Reservoir, Timber Creek.
Stone Reservoir?
Yeah, or Timber Creek.
Hold on. We need search and rescue. Jessica? Jessica?
Yeah.
What's your son's name?
I'm not playing all the calls, so you can look it up if you want to hear the rest. After police arrived, they initially conducted a missing child search, but after he was nowhere to be found, they quickly turned it into a recovery, scouring with ATVs, horseback, and more. They focused on a 2.5-mile radius around the campground. One area they searched numerous times was a creek about 50 yards away from the campsite. Nearly 200 volunteers showed up to look for DEORR. His grandmother tells the East Idaho News it appears as if he just vanished. In the only interview, DEORR's parents explained that they think he might have got abducted. That evening, 200 people gather in Idaho Falls for a candlelit vigil. Dive crews focused on the Stone Reservoir, located about a quarter of a mile from where the family was camping. A representative from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children arrives in Leodore, and the sheriff at the time, Lynn Bowerman, posts an update on Facebook clarifying remarks on the search. The Bonneville County Sheriff's dive team is called in to help search the reservoir. On July 18th, it's DEORR's father's birthday, and he spends the day camped yards away from where his son disappeared. It's been 10 days since DEORR was last seen, and the campground has been searched dozens of times, and crews have scoured the stone reservoir and creek. While no major developments have occurred in the case over the past years, the Sheriff's Office closed part of the Timber Creek campground to June 28 to the July 1st for a search. The newer sheriff, Steve Penner, declined to comment about what crews did at the site. There's a website that's up in honor of the case. I have it in this picture below. January, Jessica and Vernal were named suspects in their son's disappearance by the Lehigh County Sheriff after the recollections of events leading up were changed multiple times. The private investigator they hired, Philip Klein of Klein Investigations, also came to name them suspects. Jessica and Vernal tried to fire him and attempted to take him to court, but the lawsuit was dismissed and Klein won 3 different times. Klein says that it is the idea of how DEORR died, but cannot uncover why his death occurred. Same with the sheriffs, believing the mother to be the source of the entire cover-up, although she admitted to the media that she believed Vernal could be capable of harming their child. Klein is the second investigator to be hired by the family and also quitting. Both continue to name the parents as the primary suspects. Klein specifically believes the death of DEORR was likely an accident, but it was a cover-up. They had inconsistencies in their stories, multiple failed polygraphs, blood found at the scene, and a hit by cadaver dogs. He goes on to state that he, as an investigator, stand next to his opinions and conclusions. Isaac has been named a person of interest, but has never been named a suspect. In the summer of 2019, the grandpa died after battling with cancer. Family members say he was very remorseful and had so much guilt even on his deathbed. Family members say he just kept telling Jessica that he was very sorry that he took his eyes off DEORR. Jessica and Vernal broke their engagement shortly after the disappearance, and they each eventually remarried and moved out of state. Upon eviction from the apartment for failure to make payments, investigators were given access to the premises by the landlord when they discovered the missing camouflage jacket and several toys that both the parents allege were with their son at the time of the disappearance. In the sheriff's closing report, they believe that the time of death is now around 5 p.m., which is the day before the parents called 911.